Another week of Bears Talk Live, episode 4. We're here on a rainy Thursday afternoon at the Blowing Rock Draft House. The show is presented by J. Brown Realtors. Eric Bach here with head coach Mike Jacobs. Just a quick little recap of the last week of LR Sports. Hit the ground running. Volleyball, huge win against Wingate Tuesday night. Football heads to Newberry for a trophy game this Saturday. Men's and women's soccer open league play. Women took a 6-0 win over Francis Marion last night. Triathlon, their only home competition of the year, is this weekend. And men's golf heads down to Florida to play in the Jay Jennison Cup. But happy to be joined, as always, by head football coach Mike Jacobs. Coach, you were off last week. Feels like an eternity since you guys have actually played. It's kind of weird to have that in September during a football season, but I would imagine the guys are just chomping at the bit to get back out there.
They are. We've had a good week of practice, and you're exactly right. A lot of growth comes between the first and second game, and so to have a little bit of the, although good for our health,
Right.
to get a chance to recover a little bit, our guys are ready to get rolling and ready to get back out in the field and play.
Lots of advantages for a bye week. You get healthier, like you said. You can assess the first game. I feel like you guys have dissected that Virginia State film as much as you possibly can. So how did you spend your bye weekend? Because hopefully for you and the team, this is your last weekend off until December. But how did you spend the off day Saturday?
Yeah, we first of all, it gave us an opportunity. We practiced last week as we normally would, went a little longer on Friday than we normally would, and then gave us an opportunity to get out here in the local community, the Charlotte area, and just across the border into South Carolina to do some recruiting.
Yeah.
Our staff was out and about recruiting, and then Saturday spent some time with my family.
Yeah.
I got 2 young boys, so did my yard work, did my chores, and then I was able to hang out with my boys and watched a bunch of college football.
Watched your Buckeyes, sadly, lay an egg at home against Oregon.
Yeah, did not play well.
Yeah, but do you worry about rust a little bit? It was basically kind of like a preseason game, and then you got 2 weeks off, and now the real conference season starts with a good opponent in Newberry. Do you worry about rust, or you think you guys are at the point now where it's just go?
No, I feel like our kids are pretty dialed in.
Yeah.
They understand that you have to earn the right to play really well each week. Our practice habits have been getting better, and I think they're ready to take on this next challenge in this next 9-week stretch here of SAC conference football.
There's a couple of milestones that are on the line Saturday. 17 straight regular season conference wins, 18 would make it the school record. First time since 2014, ranked in the top 5 this week. Is that stuff just background noise for you guys, or?
Yeah, again, the rankings are great. It's an homage to what we had done leading into the season and a little bit of 2019 season, to be honest with you. But, for us, it's good for recruiting and it's great for the program to be recognized and certainly for our kids because they put in a ton of work and now it's just about, we talk a lot about our process and doing things our way and making sure we're really diligent in how we function.
Let's talk about Newberry now. Oddly enough, your staff has coached a game at Newberry. It was the very first one you coached in the 2020 season. It was a crazy double overtime game. You had both your top 2 quarterbacks on the depth chart couldn't go that day. Derek Young didn't play. It was a lot of crazy moving parts. Can you just reflect on that day and what it was like? It was probably a pretty crazy first game for you as the LR head coach.
It was. There was a ton of emotion. You're coming off a 600-plus day wait or whatever to play a college football game. COVID, we saw COVID affect us in the very first time.
Right.
Last time we went out against them with Grayson being out and Derek was out due to injury, and we had a bunch of young guys playing their very first college football game at a strange time on a weirdly hot day in March.
Yeah.
And so it led up to a really unique experience, and I give our kids a lot of credit. They went out focused. We played inspired special teams and defense. We ran the football pretty well, and we had a chance to beat what really was a good Newberry team in the spring. They ended up 5-1. So, it was good to get that first one under our belt and get an opportunity to see, how good the football is in the SAC conference.
Yeah, that game was the most pandemic world football game I think there could have ever possibly been. Double overtime. You scored a touchdown in all 3 phases, a special teams touchdown, defensive touchdown, offensive touchdown, had a third-string quarterback going. So hopefully it's a little bit more stable this time when you guys head down there. But Newberry's 1-1, coming off a loss to North Greenville. Played 2 games though. So they were a good ball club in the spring, as you said. So what is your assessment of this version of Newberry?
Newberry's a really good football team. They have a bunch of veterans on defense. I think for them it starts with their interior defensive linemen. Those guys have good size. They have good twitch. They have the ability to collapse the pocket. I think the one defensive end, number 5, does a really nice job. He's a little bit on the shorter side, so he's got some of that built-in leverage. He's given tackles all spring some issues, and then gave North Greenville some issues with him. The one corner, really both corners, I think, are veteran guys that play the ball pretty well. And then offensively, I think they have a strong rushing attack. I think the quarterback does a tremendous job. He makes plays with his feet. He keeps plays alive with his feet, and then he gets the ball downfield to some really explosive wide receivers. And then the added dimension that they've really added is their fullback H-back kid, number 8, does a really good job. He does a fantastic job blocking for them. They leak him out into the flat quite a bit, and he's been very productive for them both last spring and here this fall.
This is a trophy game, the Bishop's Trophy. I mean, you don't need any extra juice when conference play's starting, but, trophy games mean even more, don't they?
They absolutely do. It shows a depth and a history between the two teams. We've done a nice job recruiting the South Carolina area, so we have a lot of kids that are going back and playing closer to home, so it'll mean something for sure.
So, I was looking through the box scores from the spring, and one name that stuck out to me that I feel like we in the media or whoever don't talk about enough is Ryan Carter. Ryan Carter is a very productive, I hate to call him a third option as a receiver with Derek and DeAndre Lester, but can you talk about his contribution? He probably doesn't get as much attention from opposing defenses because they got to worry about Derek, got to worry about DeAndre. He's really found a niche in that third receiver slot in the offense.
He has. RC's done a great job for us, and I think his best attribute is his availability and his consistency. He shows up, he practices hard. He's a kid that works tremendously hard in the weight room, both when he's expected to be there and then on his own. And he's done a great job for us cleanly catching kicks and punts, and has been dynamic in our return game. So he's a kid that adds it doesn't allow when people bracket coverage or do things to stop some of our other guys. He's been a guy, along with Trey Luttrell, who's proven that he can get open and be productive for us.
I know we touched on him a little bit last week, but Andre Jefferson had a phenomenal debut in his first start on defense. Newberry does a few different things, so how important is he going to be in your defense this week?
Andre will be a huge part of our defense going forward. He's a guy that split some time with Dan Luba last season as a true freshman.
Right.
He's got that extra freshman year,
right.
So still a freshman, but a kid from Chicago, Illinois, and he's a big kid that I think his conditioning, the biggest thing that I love about Andre is he practices hard. Like, he's got one gear and it's full speed all the time, and that kid's probably one of our better, if not our best practice player, and we're seeing his conditioning. Since the improvement of his conditioning, it's allowed him to play for longer stretches and actually affect the game more, and I think you saw that the first game against Virginia State.
So what, in your mind, if you could boil it down to one key to the game for you guys for victory on Saturday at Newberry, what would it be?
It's always run the football, stop the run, play fanatical special teams, and protect the football on offense. And those are the keys every week. Those are the must-haves. And if we do those things, we'll put ourselves in position to have an opportunity.
So I wanted to talk about the volleyball team for a little bit. Huge win Tuesday night over Wingate. Saw a lot of your guys there cheering them on. Is that something that you guys talk about as a staff, or is that just kind of, self-motivated guys wanting to support the other teams?
I think at a small institution, a lot of our student athletes interact anyway, but I do think this is one of the more special places I've been with the Bears supporting Bears. And, we're always constantly reminding of our guys of, hey, tonight if you got nothing going on, this group's at home. We'll be more calculated and actually, set aside times where we'll send position groups or, half the team or the offense and defense to different groups if we have multiple games on campus. But I think it's a huge part of the LR community, the campus community, to support one another, and just as they do for us on Saturdays between the bricks.
Head coach Mike Jacobs and the Bears head down to Newberry on Saturday, 6 p.m. kick. They're playing for the Bishop's Trophy. Back home, finally, between the bricks next weekend against Mars Hill. But you can catch them. All the links are on lrbears.com to watch, to listen, and always just follow LR Bears Football on social media. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Golf head coach Elliot Geely coming up next on Bears Talk Live.
What does unlimited mean to you? At Carolina West Wireless, it means unlimited media, unlimited fun, and unlimited access to our nationwide high-speed network. Sign up today for an unlimited data plan and pay just $35 per month per line for 4 lines. And we'll include hotspot and big-time savings on a new smartphone. Take $350 off the revolutionary new Samsung Galaxy S20 and get more out of your unlimited. Expect more, get more. Only from Carolina West Wireless.
Welcome back to Bears Talk Live, presented by J. Brown Realtors, here from the Blowing Rock Draft House, right around the corner from the LR campus. Happy to be joined by head golf coach Elliot Geely here. So, Coach, hired in 2014, been here quite a while. Competition for both men and the women just started this past weekend. The men took 9th at the Kiowa Island Invitational. And the women tied for 3rd in the SAC preview. So, off and running. I want to talk about the women first. Had a pretty good showing. You tied for 3rd in, a tournament that was full of league opponents. So what was your overall assessment of the women this weekend?
I think we did fine. I think it was a good taste. Some of my girls played really heavily through the summer. Some didn't.
Yeah.
So that first tournament is always a little barometer to see where we're at. And I thought the girls prepared the right way. Obviously, we wanted to win. It didn't happen. Finished 3rd, which is nothing to be ashamed about. But I feel like we have a lot of room for improvement. We have a lot of pieces in place that we can use, and I think I'll reassess the situation each week, and we'll just try to work towards that for the future.
Pretty good rounds from Megan Robb and Katie Sibley. How do you look to them? There are a couple of vets on your team. How do you look to them to kind of lead the others?
Yeah, we're really experienced, really 1 through 5 on my team, and I feel like it's easier to get to them, on an individual basis and get them ready for next week. I was really proud of Megan and Katie for showing up that second day. I challenged them individually to come out and just to take the lead, and they did that for me. I just got to get the other girls to kind of step up and do the same next time we go out and compete. But I really feel like we have the pieces in place to have a good challenge for the conference championship this year. So I'm really excited to watch the girls develop. Yeah,
Megan answered that challenge, shot a second round 73, and looked, or the numbers were at least better on day 2. But what do you, as a team for the women, working on the most with them between now and next? They don't compete until 2 weeks from now. They have this weekend off. Next one is down at Savannah Lakes Golf Club at the Lander Invitational. So between now and then, what would you like to see the women improve most on?
Yeah, I think most of it is just the ability to score the ball a little bit cleaner. So we're talking about looking at our stats. How's our up and down percentages? What are our putts per rounds? Are we missing too many fairways? How are our greens regulation? It's the same stuff you'd see on TV with the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour players. So we'll just evaluate these things. We'll look at the stats for the week. We'll just apply a little practice plan, and we may throw some back into some competition to kind of earn their spots back in the starting 5, and then we'll take our best 5 girls to the next tournament.
So let's shift to the men now. Took 9th at the Kiowa Island Invitational down in South Carolina. Head to Florida this weekend. That'll be an exciting trip for them. But what are you looking for most for the men to improve in their standing this weekend?
Yeah, so the men's schedule was really strong to start our season. We played down at Aiken's tournament at Kiowa Island. You're always going to have 7 to 8 top 25 teams there, which is fine. I think my guys were ready for that moment. We came out of the blocks pretty good. Shot 282, 6 under par as a team. Kind of leveled off in the middle and didn't finish the game. I told them, I said, I'm proud of you guys for shooting a good first round. We were in position to take it a little lower the second day. It didn't happen. And I told them the next step for you guys is to learn how to finish. You showed yourselves you guys can compete against the best teams in the country. You showed yourself that you can shoot the lower scores. Now this next tournament is going to be an opportunity to go take it from day 1 all the way to day 3 and to finish the tournament and to compete for a championship and to put ourselves in that position.
A little bit of a difference in experience between the women's and the men's team. The men's team still has a good amount of experience, but there's still some newcomers. So how do you coach that differently? I mean, I'm sure you coach the women different than the men based on experience and talent, skill level, all that.
Yeah. I had a freshman start in my starting 5 this past weekend, Holt Allison, and he's from Conover, just down the road, plays out of Rock Barn. And you know what? I was really encouraged by his grit and determination. he just knew how to compete. And you don't always know what you're going to get until you kind of watch him.
Sure.
So I'm really excited for Holt to join the guys that are juniors and seniors that have had that experience in the past, to kind of throw him in the mix and to watch him integrate and how that team chemistry just kind of builds with those guys. So we're really excited about this 5 we're taking this week. I just want to see us compete against a good field again and just see if we can put ourselves in that position to win a golf tournament and finish the game.
Had 4 guys within 5 shots of each other, so it's kind of a block there. Are you looking for an individual to kind of separate himself, or is that something you're comfortable with, 4 guys within 4 or 5 shots of each other?
It was good in the context of I had a couple under par around, a guy that was 3 under, 2 at even, 1 at 2 over. So if you can complement each other like that and get maybe if one guy does step out a little bit more, that's great. But it's more about complementary. You hear that a lot about in different sports. But we have 5 guys. We count 4 scores each day. So you may have one guy step up one day, one guy may not have a good one, and they brother-in-law a little bit, and then we figure out a way to win the golf tournament. But you definitely want to have 5 guys in the game. If you can get 5 guys in the game, it gives you that freedom to have maybe 4 or 5 guys start to step out and shoot those lower scores.
So how do you manage? How do you manage your time? Both teams in action this past weekend. There'll be maybe a couple more instances of that later in the season with both teams playing at the same time in different locations. Obviously, you're one person; you can't be in 2 places at one time. So, how do you manage that when both the women and the men are playing at the same time?
Well, I've got a good assistant coach, Jillian Farrell. She's new GA here, so she does a good job with me. We make a game plan if I'm not there, and we have a good schedule we're going to keep throughout the tournament. We do our phone calls, our FaceTime calls to kind of go through game planning and just reassess the mental side of the game. But also, I think it's what we talk about a lot at LR is relationships. I build the relationships with each player to where they can trust me if I'm not with them, that they know how to take care of their business. They know if I'm not right beside them, they still can manage their situation. And if we do a good job of those sort of things, even if I'm not with them on the road, they can still be successful and still take care of their business. And we just kind of do a team collaborative effort. I am one person. I have 20 athletes, an assistant coach. There's a lot going on, but I've done it long enough now. I kind of know how to allocate my resources and put my time in where I need and get the best out of all my players.
So walk me through a typical golf practice. Like, is it you go out and play 18, you go to the range, you go to the putting green? Is it kind of catered to what is needed for that specific person, or how do you do that?
You said it best. Like, golf is an individual game in the sense of like everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. Like, I could be good at driving the golf ball where somebody else may be good at putting the golf ball.
Sure.
So what I do is when we talk about statistics, we'll look through a course of our qualifying process, through the rounds at tournaments, and we'll just start to allocate time where this person may need to spend more time on the driving range, or this person may need to spend more time chipping or hitting wedges, or maybe they need to just go on the golf course and compete a little bit more. Maybe they're just not sharp with scoring their golf ball with that side of the game. So it's an individual-based situation where it's in basketball to be like skill work or whatever it would be, like the individual sport and individual work in the individual sport. It's just putting that time in where they need it most. And I meet with them in my office, and we go out and we just put a plan together and we just put it into action.
So you're a Clemson grad.
I am.
ACC championship golfer at Clemson.
Yeah.
Are you worried about your Tiger football team? Not a great offensive showing against Georgia in week 1.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I was predicting around a 20-17 score. Neither team did very much offensively.
No.
We looked worse than they did offensively. I have faith in our coaches. I will say that. I think that piece is in place. I think, like we've seen in the past couple of years, offensive line play, a little inexperienced at quarterback. Maybe the running back depth isn't quite there yet. We're going to ride the defense as long as we can.
Yeah.
I feel good about the next few weeks. I know Bessie's over there talking about NC State and wants to give us a hard time, but we'll see how it goes. I think the hardest thing is, when you're trying to qualify for the playoffs, you want to be viewed as a top 4 program, and I think right now we're maybe that outside looking in for the first time in a while. But we need some help. Unfortunately for Coach Jacobs, Ohio State gave us some help last week, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But I love my Tigers. It was a great experience for me, and I'm happy that Dabo's done a great job with that team.
Golf head coach Elliott Gilley. The men in action down in St. Augustine, Florida this weekend, playing at the World Golf Village Jay Jennison Cup. Enjoy the warm Florida sunshine. The women 2 weeks from now at the Lander Invitational at Savannah Lakes Golf Club in Greenwood, South Carolina. Golf head coach Elliott Gilley, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be back with Rachel Buick of volleyball on Bears Talk Live.
Paramount Kia in Hickory. We want to see you driving a new Kia or, hey, a quality pre-owned Kia. We've got a huge selection of new and pre-owned Kias. You got to get to Paramount Kia in Hickory, Highway 70, ParamountKia.com.
Final segment, best for last, here on Bears Talk Live today, presented by J. Brown Realtors here at the Blowing Rock Draft House, here with Rachel Buick, the libero from the LR women's volleyball team that took a huge win against Wingate on Tuesday night. First time the Bears had beaten the Bulldogs since 2016. Rachel, you've been here for a lot of those Wingate games. How great did that feel on Tuesday night?
It felt amazing. A lot of people have come up to me and talked about how magical the win has felt, and honestly, I think that's the best way to describe it.
It was a 5-set victory. I mean, the Bears fought. They lost the first, won the second, lost the third. But to me, I did that game on the Bears Sports Network. Mm-hmm. It was different than any volleyball game I've ever seen. I mean, you guys split the first two sets. You guys get crushed in the third set, 25-5, and then bounce right back and crush them in the fourth set, 25-6. I'm not sure I've ever seen in a match that was so closely contested 2 sets like that. And you've been around volleyball a lot more than I have. Have you ever seen a match like that?
Honestly, I never have. I've been playing volleyball a really, really long time, and it definitely was interesting. But I think it shows the character of our team and how much we wanted to win that game, to coming back even after a really tough third set.
Was that the biggest win of your LR volleyball career?
So far, yes. We are very excited that we have a lot of potential this year, and we think that we can continue to get a lot of really great wins this year.
So just walk me through the mental part of that. I mean, you guys, you split the first 2 sets, it's a best of 3, and then it's 25-5 in a blink of an eye in the third set. So how do you mentally reset and just bounce back the way you guys did?
We always try to tell ourselves to have amnesia, so that way, you just forget about what happened, because that's all we really could do in that kind of situation, just because it was such a tough loss at home, and we just knew that that was unacceptable, and we didn't want to just roll over and give it to them. We wanted to come back and win that.
So I talked with Taylor Prawl after the game about how spread out the stats were. There was no person with double-digit kills in a 5-set match. So if you'd have shown me that box score and not shown me the result, I'd have been like, uh-oh, things didn't maybe go so well, but they did. So can you talk about just the team effort and how it was so spread out? It literally took everybody to beat Wingate.
It did, and honestly, they beat us in every category on Tuesday, which was really crazy, but I think it shows how much we played together and how much depth that we have on the court.
So now that you've beaten Wingate, there's another home game tonight against Coker. So how do you avoid the Wingate hangover, if you will, and keep your focus on the future?
We definitely have already talked, and we just know that we can't take any team for granted, especially after coming off a really high win. We want to make sure we stay focused from here on out and know that every game is important. It doesn't matter who it is.
So you guys opened your season in Florida, 4-game trip down to West Palm Beach. Tell me about that trip. I mean, obviously there's a lot of volleyball. Lost the first 2 matches, won the last 2 matches, both in 5 sets. But tell me about the trip. Was it a good team bonding experience for the team? You guys drove it too, so that was a long time on the road together.
I honestly think that is what prepared us for Wingate. We were really nervous about that trip at the beginning because it is a lot of volleyball right at the start, and it was so close to conference starting. But we played a lot of really high-level teams, and it really helped prepare us for Wingate on Tuesday. So it actually really helped us, and we had lots of bonding during that time period, so it was definitely a good experience overall.
Your head coach, Mark Wimberly, told me that maybe it was your toughest 5 games of the season as the first 5, with those 4 in Wingate. Played Hillsdale, which is a top 20 team, and then obviously Wingate. But so Tell me about Mark Wimberly. I mean, it was a kind of a crazy situation in the preseason with a coaching change, and he steps in. He just seems like he brings such a high energy every day.
Honestly, he has been a big part of why we've been so successful this year. And I think everybody can attest to that. He's been absolutely amazing in the way that he has stepped in and the way that he's so passionate about us and the game. It really shows through every day in practice and in the games, and we really appreciate him. He's been honestly amazing.
So for you personally, maybe not a lot of people know that you began your collegiate athletic career as a soccer player at UNC Asheville. There was no volleyball on your radar coming out of high school. So walk me through the story about how you started playing soccer at UNC Asheville, ended up as the starting libero of the volleyball team here at LR.
It's definitely been a crazy experience. My twin sister, Megan, and I both committed to play soccer our junior year of high school, and that was the route that we were going. And unfortunately, my sister had an injury when we were in college, and we started coaching volleyball, and we kind of fell back in love with volleyball during that time period. So, and then we were like, let's try to play volleyball. And that's exactly what we did. We both found schools to play for, and it's definitely been a rocky road, but it's been a great experience. So that's how we ended up playing volleyball again.
Awesome. So you're the libero of the team. As somebody who has a very maybe surface level knowledge of the X's and O's of volleyball, walk me through what your role as the libero is.
I would say the main goal for the libero is honestly being the loudest on the court, and really whenever you're in defense, you can definitely see the whole court. So you basically run defense and offense. You really help your hitters in the front row know where to hit. You can see the court way better than they can, especially when they have a block up. Just being able to really direct what's happening in the back and the front of the court.
So obviously beating Wingate is a huge deal. But what for you personally, I mean, you came back, there's a few people that could have exhausted their eligibility because of the COVID year and decided to come back. Was that a group decision? Was that just kind of an individual thing? Did you talk about it with your teammates that had the same decision?
I think we all kind of talked about it together because we were just kind of debating on what would be the best decision moving forward for all of us. But I think after talking, we all were just like, we have great potential, and we're all really great athletes, and we all really want it. So we all were just kind of like, all right, we're going to stick it out together. And that's why our upperclassmen, we're all really, really strong, and we're all really competitive, and we have a lot of heart because we really want to be here, especially after going through a lot the past 4 years with coaching changes and COVID. We really wanted to stick it out and finish strong.
So we're sitting here at the Blowing Rock Draft House, your place of employment.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you juggle all that. I mean, volleyball, school, working here. I mean, it's got to be quite the tall task.
It can definitely be a lot sometimes, but thankfully everybody's really, really great. My volleyball team's great. My coach is great. Thankfully, I love working at Blowing Rock. It's a really great environment. I have great people that I work with. And in school, the professors are all really awesome as well. I think it's just a really great environment here in Hickory, so it's really helpful.
Last question. What is your favorite part about being an LR volleyball player?
My favorite part about being an LR volleyball player, honestly, this environment is like no other. Even just the fans the other night, I just can't imagine any other school having the same kind of environment that we do. And even just like the media team, you guys, like Danny, you guys do amazing, like on a daily basis. And I don't think any other school compares to that. So
you heard it. Rachel Buick and the Bears back home tonight against Coker. The new shoe smell for the second time. So don't miss them. It's at 7 o'clock tonight on the Bears Sports Network. I'll have that one for you. It's Bears Talk Live. We'll be back next Thursday from Blowing Rock.